The CharCole podcast is recorded in front of a live studio audience. Any reproduction, rebroadcast, or reuse of any of the materials contained within this podcast is strictly prohibited without the express written consent of the CharCole podcast.
Welcome back to the CharCole podcast. We are on episode 32 of the podcast. And much like last video, this video we're going to be talking about the South Dakota State Amateur Baseball Tournament. Round one is complete. So in this one, we'll be recapping round one and giving our picks for round two.
Yeah, Cole, can't wait to get into this video. We're going to try to trim it down a little bit, but make sure that we talk about every single first round game and the second round games that have started yesterday. But we made our picks yesterday, and we will insert those in the time slot that we have made for that. We'll get to there when we get there. But yeah, Cole, couldn't be more excited for episode 32, and let's get into it.
Absolutely. So for the first game of the tournament, the Madison Broncos defeated the Plankton Gold Sox 6-2. Madison was led by Tyler Tappy on the mound. He pitched 7 1/3, scattered 6 hits, 2 runs, only one of them earned, and had 6 strikeouts and got the win for Madison. Madison had 13 hits as a team. Mitch McNary and Heath Williams both had 3. For Plankton, they were led by Ryland DeVries on the mound. He pitched 4 innings, scattered 6 hits, 4 runs, all of them earned, 4 strikeouts, 5 walks, and took the loss. Sean DeVries was 2 for 5 at the plate for Plankton. Madison scored 1 in the second, 3 in the fourth, 1 in the sixth, and 1 in the ninth for their 6 runs on 13 hits, and also had 1 error. Plank scored 1 run in the first and 1 in the third for their 2 runs on 7 hits and 2 errors.
Yeah, Cole, I don't think anyone was shocked to see that first round game. I think what people were most shocked about was the score of the game. Madison kept it pretty close, and Plank played a pretty solid game overall. The pitching kept it close, and a low scoring, if you will, affair, a four-point ball game. Kind of surprising. Bronx of Madison take the win in that one. So yeah, I guess we both picked Madison to win that game, I believe.
Yes, we did.
So we started 1 for 1, Cole.
Too bad that didn't last too long, as the second game of the night featured the Garrettson Blue Jays blanking the Plankton Bakers in 7 innings, 13-0. Garrettson was led by Aaron Labrie on the mound. He pitched the full 7 innings, scattered 6 hits, 13 strikeouts, and no walks. Garrettson had 13 runs on 14 hits, 9 runs batted in, and 5 walks. Scott Splett led the way for Garrettson. He went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a walk. Plank was led by Travis Gant on the mound. He pitched 4 innings, scattered 9 hits, 7 runs, and 4 strikeouts and took the loss. Cole Knipling went 2 for 3 at the plate with 2 hits. Garrettson scored 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 3 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, and 4 in the seventh for their 13 runs. They also had 3 errors in the game. Plankton got blanked. However, they scattered 6 hits and had 7 errors.
Yeah, a surprising first-round matchup, in my opinion, as a Pony Hills champion got bounced by the Garrettson Blue Jays. Garrettson had a fantastic pitching performance. It was very fun to watch. We had so many first-round pitching performances that were outstanding, but that one is for sure top 2 and might not be 2. In my opinion, but the pitching performance from Garrettson was absolutely phenomenal. The Bankers couldn't do much against the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays win that one. You and I both had the Bankers winning that game, so we took our first loss. We couldn't go 2-0.
Nope, can't start the first day perfect, and that's just kind of how the whole tournament went. I think we lost 3 games overall, but still 13-3 is not bad. And now we move on to the Thursday slate of games, a full slate of games, day 1 of the gauntlet, if you would like to call it that. The Mount Vernon Mustangs defeated Redfield Dairy Queen 10-0 in 7 innings. Mount Vernon was led by Bradley Dean on the mound. He pitched 4 innings, scattering 3 hits and no runs. Cade Belas got the win in relief, pitching 2 innings, scattering 2 hits, no runs, 2 strikeouts. Spencer Negebauer led the way for Mount Vernon. He went 1 for 1 officially with 2 runs. 2 runs batted in, a triple, a walk, and 2 sac flies. Derek Denning went 1 for 4 with a 2-run home run. Another interesting stat for Mount Vernon, they stole 13 bases in the game against Redfield.
Wow, that's absolutely crazy. Base running's been the thing for the Mustangs, Cole.
It has, and as we saw in this second game that we'll get to a little bit later, another base running deal was the thing that won it for Mount Vernon in that game. Spoiler alert, by the way. For Redfield, Kyle Stover got the loss. He pitched 1.0 innings, scattering 5 hits, 6 runs, and a home run. Cody Cotton came in relief. He pitched 6 innings, scattering 8 hits and 4 runs. Cole DeSpiegler led the way for Redfield, going 2 for 2 with 2 hits. Mount Vernon scored 3 in the first, 3 in the second, 2 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, and 1 in the sixth for their 10 runs, 13 hits. They had 1 error. Redfield scored none throughout 7 innings, but they had 5 hits and 2 errors.
Yeah, Cole, I think rather surprising that the Mustangs came out that hot. But they've proved themselves down the line, and they looked extremely good in that first game, showing what they have, pitching Dean and Vilas being a key pickup for the Mustangs this year. A huge win for the Mustangs getting out of that first round over the Dairy Queen of Redfield. We both had the Mustangs winning that game. So I believe you had the Mustangs winning that game.
Yes.
Yes, the Mustangs get the win over Redfield DQ in a rather easy fashion, 10 rundom.
And that brings us to the second game of the day. The Millbank Fire Chiefs defeated the Akron, Iowa Rebels 8-4. Millbank was led by a dominant performance by Dom Berger on the mound, pitched a full 9 innings on 153 pitches, scattering 10 hits, 4 runs, 20 strikeouts, and 0 walks in the game.
That's absolutely phenomenal.
Lance Frogner led the way batting for Millbank. He went 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs, and Taylor Berger went 3 for 5 with an RBI also. For Akron, taking the loss was Jared Kirkaby. He pitched 5 innings, scattering 10 hits, 4 runs, and 5 strikeouts. Preston Pfeiffer led the way batting for Akron. He went 3 for 5 with a home run. For Akron, they scored 4 in the 4th inning and 1 in the 9th for their 4 runs, 10 hits, and 2 errors. Millbank scores 3 in the 1st, 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, and 1 in the 8th for their 8 runs, 16 hits, and 2 errors.
Yeah, not a surprising one, as many had Millbank winning this ball game. The Rebels of Akron looked pretty good, though, solid through the first part of the game. Don Berger decided to do his thing and went out there and flat did it. With 20 strikeouts, it was another fantastic pitching performance in that first round. And I'll tell you what, Don Berger is a special guy. That man can throw the ball, and we'll get to that in a little bit after our first round recap is over with. But Don Berger's special, and the Millbank Fire Chiefs get the win there. We both had Millbank winning, so I believe that was a correct guess for both of us.
Yes, it was. And that brings us to the evening session of day 2. The Platte Killer Tomatoes defeat the Aurora Aces 14-4 in 8 innings. Platte was led by Brady Knowles on the bump, pitched 8 innings, scattering 8 hits and 4 runs with 4 strikeouts. Hayden Kuiper went 3 for 4 from the plate, had a single, a double, a triple, and a hit by pitch. He had 3 runs batted in. Derek Sukup went 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs, 2 singles, and 2 doubles. For Aurora, taking the loss was Cameron May. He only pitched a third of an inning, scattering 4 hits, 6 runs, and 3 walks. Curtis Anderson came in and pitched 6.2 innings, scattering 6 hits and 5 runs and 4 strikeouts. Trey Tiefenthaler led the way for Aurora at the plate. He went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. For Aurora, they scored 3 in the 5th and 1 in the 7th for their 4 runs, 8 hits, and 6 errors. Platte scored 6 in the 1st, 1 in the 3rd, 3 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, and 3 in the 8th. Yes, 3 in the 8th. For their 14 runs on 14 hits and 3 errors.
Yeah, another one that most people had pegged. I don't think most of us believe that Platte can run Aurora, as many felt Aurora was possibly a sleeper team that could make a little bit of a run in this tournament because no one knew what they are, where they came from. But the Aurora Aces looked pretty solid right away, but Killer Tomatoes, with who they've played throughout the season, showed, who they are, and they get past the Aces of Aurora. One quick note I will mention is Aurora was really, really surprising to me with their hitting ability. I thought that the hitting from Aurora was exceptional, and I don't think this will be the last time we see Aurora in this tournament.
No. Agree with you there. Their hitting was good. However, just Brady Knowles kind of shut them down on the mound. There's nothing they could really do about it. Then the nightcap, Alexandria defeated Weston Springs 17-2 in 6 innings. Jacob Giles started for Alexandria. He pitched 4 innings, scattering 5 hits and a run. Wyatt Kaiser came in and got the win in relief, pitching 2 innings, scattering 2 hits and 1 run with 3 strikeouts. Jordan Gow went 3 for 3 for Alexandria with 3 singles and an RBI. Pierce Smith went 3 for 4 with a single and 2 doubles. For Weston Springs, Parker DeJean started on the mound. He pitched 3 innings, scattering 7 hits and 9 runs. Evan Steiner pitched a third of an inning, scattering 6 hits and 7 runs. And Terrell Butterfield pitched 2 1/3, scattering 3 hits and a run. Curtis Collins and Trevor Kenobi led the way for Weston Springs on the bump, at the plate, going 2 for 2. Springs scored 1 in the first and 1 in the fifth for their 2 runs on 7 hits and 7 errors. Alexandria scored 5 in the first, 3 in the second, 1 in the third, 7 in the fourth, none in the fifth, and 1 in the sixth to get their 17 runs on 16 hits.
Yeah, Alexandria looked really good in that first round outing. And both my football coaches got on the mound that game. Both Mr. Giles and Mr. Kaiser got on the mound. And you know what? They had a pretty good outing. I'd say Giles will definitely see another appearance possibly soon on the mound for Alexandria. I do know who's pitching tonight, and I'm not going to release that information now just because I don't want to, and quite simply just for respect for the Angels. But the Angels will not be starting Giles tonight against Platt, as Platt does have a win against the Angels this season. We'll get into that in a little later, but it's exciting. It's an enticing matchup, as we both had the Angels winning this one over Weston Springs, and everyone thought it was going to be very handily, and we were both correct.
And that brings us to the Friday slate of games, a very, very good game to start off this Friday. The Canova Gang defeated the Tabor Bluebirds 3-2 in extra innings. For Canova, starting on the mound was Derek Miller. He pitched 9 innings, scattering 9 hits and 2 runs with 7 strikeouts. Justin Miller got the win in relief. He pitched an inning, only scattering 1 hit with 2 strikeouts. Garrett Gassman went 2 for 4 at the plate with a single, a double, and 2 RBI. Tim Gassman went 1 for 5 with an RBI also. Riley Rochadle started on the mound for Tabor. He pitched 6 2/3 on 107 pitches, 3 hits, no runs, and 8 strikeouts. Austin White came in, pitched 2/3 of an inning, scattering 2 hits and a run. And Bryce Shashinsky pitched 2 innings, scattering 4 hits and 2 runs, and took the loss for Tabor. Riley Rochadle led the way for Tabor at the plate, going 2 for 4 with a single and a triple and a run batted in. And Joey Slama went 2 for 5 with a single and a double. Tabor scored 1 in the first, 1 in the second, and none the rest of the way for their 2 runs on 10 hits and 1 error. Canova scored none until the 8th inning, where they scored 1. They scored 1 in the 9th and 1 in the 10th to defeat Tabor 3-2.
Yeah, I don't know that many people had this game being this close. I mentioned it. I said, hey, Tabor's a sleeper team. It could happen. The gang could get upset and have another first round exit, but the Bluebirds couldn't pull it off. And Riley Rochadle, quite simply, is going to be a scary dude when he's not in the Legion uniform. I mean, he currently is a scary dude, don't get me wrong, but when he's in an amateur baseball uniform for the Tabor Bluebirds, look out, because you're not going to want to draw the Tabor Bluebirds in your first round matchup or at all in this tournament in the upcoming years. But as for Canova, they stay alive. And what was, in my opinion, the best game so far in this tournament, Canova takes the win at the end of the game. It was a walk-off hit, and Canova won it you know, we both had Canova winning this one, but we didn't expect it to be this good. I'm really excited to see the future of the Bluebirds.
Absolutely. And one thing I was thinking that if Riley Rochadle doesn't hit his pitch limit as he's in a Legion uniform or Legion age kid, he can only pitch 105 pitches in a game. If he doesn't have that pitch limit, do you think Canova gets blanked?
I do think Cano gets blanked. I think he had three hits allowed on him up until the point where he got pulled. There was literally a standing ovation for Riley when he got pulled. It was phenomenal. Probably the best pitching outing I've seen from a kid his age at the state tournament. It was 100%. Tabor wins the game handily and is marching into the Sweet 16. But instead, that's not the case. The Canova gang shows that they've been here. They know what's going on, and they do their thing and take the win.
And that takes us to the next Friday game featuring the Lennox Only One Alpacas defeating Wynot of Nebraska, the Expos, 7-4. For Lennox, starting on the mound was Brock Anderson. He pitched 6 innings, scattering 10 hits and 4 runs. Drew Sweeter came in relief, pitching 3 innings, scattering 2 hits and no runs, and he got the win. Cam Wolf went 3 for 4 at the plate with a single, a double, and a home run. Corey Vasquez went 2 for 5 with a single and a home run, and Drew Sweeter went 1 for 3 with a home run. Wynot, starting on the mound was Jalen Weisler. He pitched 4 1/3, scattering 4 hits and 3 runs. Jackson Sudbeck came in relief and took the loss, pitching 4 2/3, scattering 4 hits, 4 runs, and allowing a home run. Lee Hymas for Wynot was 2 for 4 with 2 triples. He is 48 years old, might I add, so it's very impressive from him. And Devin Lammers went 3 for 5 with 2 singles and a double. For Lennox, they scored 3 in the 5th and 4 in the 9th for their 7 runs on 8 hits. For Wynot, they scored 2 in the 4th and 2 in the 7th for their 4 runs on 12 hits.
Yeah, Cole, this was surprising to me, the score of this one. Lennox, the Alpacas are the alpacas. Jody Brozick has 2 different pronunciations. We still haven't got to that. Why it's, in his opinion, the alpacas, but I think it's an alpaca, long A. Besides the point, the Alpacas, as I'll pronounce it, played a very close ball game with the Wynot Expos. I figured Lennox would take care of them, but Wynot showed why they did what they did and who they are. In our previous video, I took the Wynot in the video, but I went back and I changed my pick after the video to the Lennox Only One Alpacas. So in my bracket, I have a win there, and the Lennox Only One Alpacas advanced on after the 7-4 win over Wynot.
I also believe, I had Wynot originally. I believe I stuck with them. It was a close game. You can't get me wrong. And Lennox just came out and started hitting bombs. And as soon as they hit that second one, I'm like, oh, this isn't looking very good for my bracket. But welcome to August, I guess. Then the third game of the night featured the Salem Cubs defeating Four Corners 5-4. For Salem, they started Isaac Anderson on the mound. He pitched 5 innings, scattering 4 hits and 3 runs. Trey Randall came in relief, pitching 4 innings, scattering 1 hit and 1 run, and he also got the win for Salem. Tyler Cleveland went 2 for 2 at the plate with 2 singles. Cole Cheeseman went 2 for 4 with a single, a double, and a run batted in. And Brian Duxbury went 2 for 4 with 2 singles. For Four Corners, Josh Davies started, pitched 5 2/3, scattering 9 hits and 3 runs. Noah Haney came in relief and got the loss, pitching 2 1/3, scattering 2 hits, 2 runs. And Nathan Haney came in and pitched 1 inning, scattering no hits. Andrew Coverdale led the way for Four Corners at the plate, going 2 for 4 with 2 singles. And Noah Haney went 1 for 3 with a home run. For Salem, they scored 1 in the 1st, 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and 1 in the 8th inning to score their 5 runs on 11 hits. Four Corners scores 1 in the 1st, 1 in the 4th, and 2 in the 6th for their 4 runs on 5 hits.
Yeah, not the most surprising outcome in this one. We both had Salem winning this one. Four Corners played it close, though. Don't get me wrong. It was a good game. I'm happy that we were there to watch that one. It was one of the more close games of the first round. But the Cubs do what they do and get past four corners, and that's another win for the Corn Belt.
Absolutely. And then the nightcap featured the Dimmick-Emery Raptors blanking the Hartford-Humboldt Gamecocks 13-0 in 7 innings. For Dimmick-Emery, they were led in many more ways than one by Phil Johnson on the mound, pitching the full 7 innings on 71 pitches, scattering 4 hits and 9 strikeouts. Peyton Nash went 3 for 5 at the plate with 3 singles. Gene Kitchens went 2 for 3 with 2 singles. And Sam Aaron went 2 for 3 at the plate with a triple, a 3-run home run, and a sacrifice fly for 7 runs batted in. For Hartford Humboldt, they started Brandon McKnight. He pitched 3 2/3 on scattering 7 hits and 5 runs, and he took the loss. Drew Maris pitched 1 1/3, scattering 4 hits and 6 runs, and Micah Warrington pitched 1 inning, scattering 2 hits, 2 runs, and Landry Knight pitched an inning, scattering 1 hit. Brock Haldeman led the way for Hartford Humboldt. He went 2 for 3 with 2 hits. Dimmick-Emery scored 1 in the second, 4 in the fourth, 6 in the fifth, and 2 in the sixth for their 13 runs on 14 hits. Hartford Humboldt scored 0 runs on 4 hits.
A very surprising ball game, Cole. Was very surprised to see the Dimmick-Emery Raptors come out and just clobber the Corn Belt champions in the let's get it right here, the Hartford Humboldt Gamecocks. I want to put it correct, and I'll tell you what, Phil Johnson did Phil Johnson things, and I was giggling like a schoolgirl the whole time because I kept hitting you, and I was shaking my head because I couldn't believe it. Phil looks like Phil does, if he is doing exactly what he needs to be doing. And the bats of the Raptors are on fire right now. Look forward to seeing much more of Phil Johnson, the Dimmick-Emery Raptors. Unfortunately, we picked against Dimmick-Emery, as many did. That busted a lot of brackets, seeing Dimmick-Emery get that win. There is one perfect bracket. We'll get to that in a little bit. But tell you what, the Raptors looking good.
Absolutely. And like you said, Phil Johnson did Phil Johnson things, got to the state tournament, decided, you know what? These guys are not going to get a run off me. And he pitched 7 innings, averaging just over 10 pitches an inning. You can't get much more efficient than that. And now we start these Saturday games. What an interesting Saturday this was. Del Rapids Mudcats defeat the Northville Merchants 7-0. For Del Rapids, they started Dalton Allen on the mound. He pitched 6 innings, scattering 1 hit on 5 strikeouts, and got the win. Chad Hunt led the way for Del Rapids at the plate, went 2 for 4 with 2 singles. Trevor Frutenthal went 2 for 4 with a single, a double, and 2 RBI. For Northville, they pitched Garrett Knox. He went the full 9 innings on 175 pitches, scattering 6 hits, 7 runs, and took the loss. Travis Paulson and Max Waltman both had singles in the game for Northville. For Del Rapids, they scored 1 in the second, 2 in the third, 2 in the fifth, and 2 in the ninth for their 7 runs on 6 hits. Northville scores 0 on 2 hits.
Yeah, Cole, not very surprising. The Del Rapids Mudcats, your defending champions. I actually misspoke in the last video, but the defending champions in the state, I'll tell you what, they looked pretty darn good. They didn't pitch their best guy against Northville. I think they just wanted to get through it, get kind of a first-run warm-up. That's what it looked like to the Mudcats. Not surprised at all. We both picked the Mudcats to win that one.
And that brings us to the second game of the day, and this is where things get interesting. The Larchwood Iowa Diamonds defeat the Volga Cormorants, 3-2 in 10 innings. Isaac Horrigan pitched 5 2/3 innings, scattering 3 hits, 2 runs, and Mitch Van Beek came in relief, pitched 4 1/3, scattering 2 hits, and got the win. Micah Lynn went 3 for 3 with 3 doubles. Eric McLaughlin went 2 for 4 with 2 singles. And Cody that last name exactly. I can't speak right now for some reason. Went 1 for 4 in the day with a walk-off double to win. Parker Pitts led the way, or started on the mound for Volga. He went 3 hits on 1 run. And Nikolai Arbach pitched 4 innings, scattering 5 hits and 2 runs, 2 of them earned, and got the loss. Zach Pitts went 2 for 4 with 2 singles for Volga. This game went 6.5 innings, or was it 5.5 innings?
6.5.
I think it was 6.5, and then here came the rain. We played an hour of baseball, sat through 2.5 hours of rain, and then they finished the game at Drake Field. Vola scored 2 in the third, and that's all they scored. Larchwood scored 1 in the third, 1 in the 8th, and 1 in the 10th to win it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it was definitely an interesting ball game. The Cormorants looked solid, as I said, on the mound. The pitching performance was good. It was a low-scoring ball game. The Diamonds of Larchwood showed why they have been in the tournament before. They had experience, and they proved it. But we both picked the Larchwood Diamonds to win this one over Volga. It was close, and they walked it off. We were over there watching it next to each other on Drake Field. The game got over. We walked right back and got into the booth for the next game.
It was just a wild turn of events. The rain came in. Everybody was just like, what's going on here? It was about 2.5 hours until they resumed the game on Drake Field. Meanwhile, a helicopter tried landing on Drake Field as we're trying to play. Turns out he was just trying to go over to Cadwell to dry things off. But they got everything dried off, and that takes us to our third game of the night, featuring the Lake Norden Lakers defeating the Freeman Black Sox 5-3. Lake Norden was led on the mound by Jordan Johnson. He went the full 9 innings, pitching 147 times, scattering 7 hits and 3 runs with 13 strikeouts. Mick Toulson went 2 for 4 with 2 singles. Jesse Van Overbeek went 2 for 5 with 2 singles and an RBI. And Trevor Thuy went 1 for 1 with a double, and that was the go-ahead run in the 8th inning. For Freeman, they pitched Blake Schroedermeyer to start. He pitched 5 2/3, scattering 4 hits and 2 runs. Michael Drossman from Lesterville pitched 3 3 1/3, scattering 6 hits and 3 runs, and took the loss in relief. Jake Weir went 2 for 4 with a single and a double, and Bailey Sage went 1 for 4 with a single and 2 RBI. For Lake Norden, they scored 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, and 1 in the 8th for their 5 runs on 10 hits. Freeman scored 1 in the 1st, 1 in the 3rd, and 1 in the 5th for their 3 runs on 7 hits.
Yeah, having experience again pays off in the tournament. The Lakers prove why that's the case. The Black Sox are definitely a team that could do some damage in the upcoming years. They're young, in places. They have a lot of moving parts. It felt like they were there, and then it quickly fell off because the Lakers just proved why they have been in this tournament in the past. But we both took Lake Norden, I believe, in this one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, we both took Lake Norden, and we were correct in our picks in that game. And it moved us to the late game, which was pretty late.
Yes, it was. The scheduled 7:30 start actually started at about 10:10, if I remember correctly, and that featured the cockfight. Winter Cologne Pheasants taking on the Redfield Pheasants. Winter Cologne defeats Redfield 16-1 in 7 innings. Winter Cologne was led by Derek Gracer on the mound. He pitched 5 innings, scattering 1 hit on 9 strikeouts, and took the win. Pat Starr came in relief, pitching 2 innings, scattering 2 hits and 1 run. Austin Calhoun led the way for Winter Cologne with the plate, going 4 for 5 with 3 singles and a double and 2 RBI. Luke Bamberg went 3 for 4 with 3 singles and 2 RBI. And Austin Ritchie went 3 for 5 with 2 singles, a double, and 2 RBI. For Redfield, they started Tommy Gregg, who was actually doing pretty good, and then all of a sudden Winter Cologne just kind of got to him. So he pitched 1 in the 3rd, scattering 8 hits and 8 runs, taking the loss. Christian Boomsma pitched 5 2/3, scattering 9 hits and 8 runs. Rafael Clemente and Barrett Wren went 1 for 2, both with singles. Winter Cologne scores 8 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, 2 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, and 2 in the 7th for their 16 runs on 17 hits. Redfield scores their lone run in the 6th inning on 3 hits.
Yeah, you know what, Cole? Not very shocking to me to see this score. The Redfield Pheasants, a pretty good team. I believe won the North Central League, or was it North Central or Eastern Dakota?
One of those two, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. I believe it is the North Central. as they won that league. But the Winter Cologne Pheasants just take care of them handily and prove their worth. We called that game together, Cole.
Yes, we did. And one thing I put in my notes, the end of game was 12:35 a.m.
Yeah,
So
that was a pretty late one.
it was a late one for sure. And that brings us to our Sunday games, just 2 Sunday round 1 games. The Flandreau Cardinals defeat the Menno Mad Frogs 7-2. Flandreau started Dallas Schneiderman. He pitched 4 innings, scattering 2 hits. Drew Weber pitched 5 innings, scattering 4 hits and 2 runs, and got the win. Aiden Ladd went 2 for 5 with 2 singles and an RBI. Nate Kneebone went 1 for 4 with a single and 2 RBI. For Menno, they started Doug Hall. He pitched 2 1/3, scattering 5 hits and 7 runs, and took the loss. Jamison Kleinsasser pitched 6 2/3, scattering 4 hits and no runs. Dylan Lair went 2 for 4 with a single and a double, and Jamison Kleinsasser went 1 for 4 with a double and an RBI. Flandreau scores 1 in the first, 2 in the second, and 4 in the third for their 7 runs on 9 hits. Menno scores 1 in the 6th and 1 in the 7th for their 2 runs on 6 hits.
Yeah, a really good team in Flandreau. They take care of business against the Mad Frogs. Not a surprising score. We both had Flandreau taking this game. The Mad Frogs looked pretty close for a while. They kept it a lot closer than most people figured. But the Flandreau Cardinals showing why they were the runner-ups last year in the state tournament.
That takes us to the second Sunday game, featuring the Kimball White Lake Nationals defeating Castlewood. 7-2. For Kimball White Lake, they pitched Zach Wallner, and he went the distance like everybody expected. Pitched the full 9 innings on 157 pitches, scattering 13 hits and 2 runs with 11 strikeouts. Trent Wookie went 3 for 4 with 3 singles, and Dillinger Pearson went 2 for 4 with a single, a double, and 2 RBI. And Kelly O'Brien went 2 for 5 with 2 singles and 3 RBI. For Castlewood, they pitched Josh Cleveland. He went the distance, but pitched 8 innings on 151 pitches, scattering 12 hits, 7 runs on 5 strikeouts, and took the loss. Jacob Tweet went 3 for 5 with 3 singles and an RBI, and Rhett Flory went 2 for 2 with 2 singles, 2 hit by pitch, and a base on balls. Lucas Ching went 2 for 5 with 2 singles and an RBI. For Castlewood, they scored 1 in the 7th and 1 in the 9th for their 2 runs on 13 hits. And Kimball White Lake scores 3 in the 1st, 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 6th, and 2 in the 8th for their 7 runs on 12 hits.
Yeah, you know what? That was a good way to end the first 16 games. I'm not surprising to see Wallner do his thing. It was another very good, impressive pitching performance from Zach Wallner. And that brings us to the top of the bracket, Cole. We made our picks yesterday, and we'll skip to that video in 1 second. Let's do a quick preview. Garrettson, the Blue Jays take on the Madison Bronx. Garrettson takes care of it. Not surprising. Going into that game, Cole, what were your thoughts?
I was thinking that, Madison played it close with the Gold Sox, and nothing against the Gold Sox, but they're a pretty young team and not very experienced in the tournament. So knowing that they kept it close and knowing that Garrettson blew the Bankers out of the water 13-0, I thought this was about going to be exactly what it was, a 10-run ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. That brings us on to the next game, Mount Vernon versus Millbank. We both made our picks, and we'll get to that. We're editing back and forth. I'll put these videos together the best I can, but I'll skip to that here. My picks for tonight's game, however, are the Madison Broncos, who took the win over Plankton Gold Sox, and I had them up against the I had them up against the Bankers of Plankington, but Garrettson clipped them in the first round. So now it matches the Garrettson Blue Jays versus the Madison Broncos. Now, in my bracket, I had the Bankers winning 3 games, excuse me. And so that kind of had my bracket messed up a little bit, but doesn't change the fact that Garrettson and Madison are matched up against each other in the 5:30 game tonight. I am taking, for my pick, Garrettson to advance on to quarterfinal action. In the nightcap, I picked both of these games correctly. I have the Mount Vernon Mustangs against Millbank Fire Chiefs. I took Millbank as I had Millbank going into my quarterfinals in that one.
Here are my picks for these Sunday evening games. The first game featuring Madison and Garrettson. I think Garrettson's going to walk away with this one pretty easily because they handled the Plankton Bankers, and I think the Bankers are better than the Madison Broncos. So there's my pick for the first one. Millbank and Mount Vernon. I think if Millbank pitches Dom Berger, he's going to be really hard to beat. But I think Mount Vernon's going to put up a good fight. So I think it's going to be a one-run game in favor of Millbank. Timely hits and had excellent base running in that game. So they won 3-2.
Yeah, so that brings us to the today games. We have Platt and Alexandria in our first ball game. Cole, really quick, what are your thoughts going into this one? I will mention I know who's pitching. Platt's got it for him. It's going to be a tough ball game. I'll tell you what, Platt's nipped Alexandria before this year.
Absolutely. It's going to be one of those Sunshine League rivalries. I just think that with Alexandria's depth and their experience, I think we're going to take this one by a couple of runs over Platt.
I can agree. The Angels will take this one, in my opinion, but Platt's a scary team. I would not be shocked, totally shocked at all, to see Platt take this one over the Angels. But I feel like the Angels, with the experience they have and the depth that they have, they'll take this game. Let's head on to the nightcap tonight. Lennox versus Canova, a game that most people are really excited about, a Corn Belt League matchup. I don't know, Cole. What do you think?
This one's kind of a toss-up because Lennox hit the ball really well against Wynot, but they also had a strong south breeze. But Canova got shut down by a Legion pitcher, so that kind of shows you their weaknesses on the year. Their hitting's kind of been weak, and Lennox's hitting has been strong. However, it's really hard to pick against Canova. I think Canova's going to squeak this one out. However, it will probably be a high-scoring ball game, if I had to guess.
You know what? I'm actually going to disagree with you for the first time in the history. I disagree. I think the Alpacas are going to win this game. I changed it in my bracket. I had a feeling upon me that the Alpacas are going to win this game. And in my opinion, the Alpacas will, again, a high-scoring game, just like you talked about. That brings us on to the next game, Salem and Dimmick Emory. I feel like this is going to be probably one of the most lackluster second-round games. I feel like the Dimmick Emory Raptors will take this one.
Yeah, you saw Salem kind of struggle with four corners, and Dimmick Emory blew the Corn Belt League champions out of the water. I think this one's going to be a 10-run ball game in favor of Dimmick Emory.
I agree. That moves us on to the next game, Del Rapids Mudcats versus Larchwood. Del Rapids looks really good in their first round over Northville. I have a hard time seeing that Larchwood's going to be able to hit Del Rapids, especially keep up with them in the hitting department. Del Rapids is my pick.
I agree with you there. Larchwood kind of showed their weaknesses against some really good pitching before that rain delay. And I think the only reason they caught up was because of the rain delay, so Parker Pitts couldn't pitch as long as he wanted to. So I think Del Rapids is going to win this one as well.
That brings us on to the next game, Lake Norden versus Winter Cologne. Lake Norden just squeaked one by Freeman, the Black Sox, but Winter Cologne handles the league champion in the Redfield Pheasants. I'll tell you what, Winter Cologne takes this one in another lackluster game. I think this is a high-scoring affair for the Winter Cologne Pheasants.
I agree with you there. You really can't pick against them after they absolutely destroyed another league champion 16-1. So I think Winter's going to take this one, probably another 10-run game.
I agree. That brings us on to the last game of round one, Cole. Or round two, excuse me, Flandreau Cardinals versus the Kimball Lake Wildcats. I'll tell you what, it's hard to pick against Zach Wallner, but the Flandreau Cardinals are the defending champions for a reason.
I agree with you there. They're going to pitch Zach Wallner again, even if it takes them 200 pitches this game. I just think it's really hard to pick against Flandreau because they've been there. They know how to win come August, and they've shown that in their first round game. So I think they're going to win this one by a couple runs.
Yeah, absolutely. That rounds out the video. We're trying to get things wrapped up here as best we can. Thanks for watching this 30-second episode of the CharCole podcast. Can't ask for more. We'll be back for round three. Look forward to calling some games for 605 Sports and Life